I'm on the road. I've been everywhere in the last 30 days, but I got in last night and I said, I think I've been here before. And but guess what? It was 30 years ago. Wow. The last time that I've been in this biggest little, how does it go?
Biggest little city.
Biggest little city, 30 years ago. And how did I know it? Because I was with Blockbuster then. I was 5. There's no way. But that is so wild that it has been 30 years since I've been in Reno. So thank you all for welcoming me back. I'm very, very, very happy. I'm honored. It really is an honor. Thank you. Thank you.
We are so glad you're here.
We're glad to be here.
Yeah, we are so glad you're here, and thank you for coming out here to visit us.
I wouldn't want to be anywhere else, and I got to tell you one other thing. There's a lot on my mind right now, so I'm going to get into the questions, but I wanted us to just do me a favor. Would everyone do me a favor? And for a second, just pause. It's 9/11. Yeah. Yesterday, our country had attacks everywhere, it feels like, and we're going to hopefully get to talk about this. We need to reflect on our responsibility. I'm going to look around there and see my friend over there, that gentleman. There's so few men in here. I'm going to say hello to him in a blue shirt. It's nice to be surrounded by all these smart, pretty women. But seriously, we have a significant responsibility as a profession to do something about these issues. Yeah, I mean, we have to hire people and we have to fire people and we have to pay people and we have to do all of that. But as you reflect about the significance of our roles within organizations, you think about it, it's the only place where we essentially have people held captive, if you will, for 8 to 10 hours a day. And we at SHRM say better workplaces can lead to a better world. So to the extent we can show people how to treat each other, how to disagree better, how not to hold others in contempt simply because you don't agree with them. Maybe, just maybe, during those 8 or 10 hours, what we do as HR, they then take these traits, these characteristics back to their communities, back to their homes. They teach their children how to be better citizens and better human beings. So I just want us to, just for a few minutes, yesterday really bothered me because on the heels of, I'm always reflective on the day before 9/11. But I really, really got reflective yesterday. Again, no matter what your political ideology is, no matter what you think about anything, the idea that we don't see human beings as human beings and we think that it's okay. I watched some of the traffic this morning, the online traffic, and the fact that people would put their names to some of their disgusting and vile comments. No matter what you think about the individual, politically or otherwise, the idea that you would actually go online and not under a pseudonym, but your full name, say things that are just should be unacceptable in any society. Hopefully, we all take this, in addition to everything else on your plate, we take this opportunity to reflect and commit ourselves to bringing people together and killing the silos, maybe not the good choice of words, but the idea is eliminating silos so that we create a better society. So thank you all. Yeah. Thank you for the time.
Thank you for taking that moment. Yeah, and I had the same feeling last night, like, how are we going to do this summit after all that's going on? And tomorrow's 9/11, but we're here.
We're here.
And that was a great intro, and thank you for that moment. It was needed. I think that HR people are unsung heroes.
Yes, very much so.
I say that a lot. So, all right. So, being that it's your first time with us here in Reno.
Yes. First conference like this. Is this your first ledge conference?
It's our first legislative conference.
This is so amazing.
First of many.
Packed. Minus the lawyers, but okay.
So I think we'd love to know, what was your journey before SHRM?
So I was born and raised in Fort Lauderdale. And interestingly, we were next to a city. You know how you all are compared to Las Vegas? We were always compared to Miami. So I'm used to being the big little city. I'm that guy. I was born and raised in Fort Lauderdale, 2 sisters. My parents raised us, pretty normally, as normal as any family goes, right? And but I think when I think about my career, so I started my career at a law firm, a big law. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, make sure you hear me. And so I started my career at a law firm. And frankly, what I was doing is first as an ERISA lawyer. So I started in the employment space, but as a tax lawyer first. And it was a big law firm, and they assigned me to different matters. And then all of a sudden, and I'm going to date myself, but call it early 90s for those of us who are going to admit that we were around then. I was very young then. But there was a period where you saw all of these big cases. People talk about George Floyd in 2020. But we've seen this movie before because there was a Rodney King remember, in the early 1990s, and everything that flowed from that. So I was there, and I was, constantly fighting discrimination claims, race, gender, national origin, all the things that we're used to. And one day, the CEO of Blockbuster called me in and said, hey, what we really, really like about you is that you're just not ready to fight. What you're trying to do is solve problems. And you see human beings on the other side of these lawsuits. And we really appreciate that. So that was how I was introduced to HR, as I was asked at Blockbuster to come over from the law department to the HR department. And so I'm sort of a reforming lawyer, but always an HR person at my core. And so I took my career very quickly from Blockbuster. I was there for a while. Viacom bought us. There once was a company called Viacom also. Wherever I go, they no longer exist. I don't know what that means. Maybe I had something to do with it.
In HR, we say, that's not a good sign.
Not a good sign. I got a lot of bad signs. Let me tell you, SHRM is going to be around forever, I promise you. But I hope. But seriously, so I went from a company called Viacom. Viacom owned MTV, Paramount Pictures, everything. So I was there, and then I went over to Paramount Pictures. So I stayed with Paramount and Viacom for about 7.5 years. Sometimes as a lawyer, sometimes as the head of HR, sometimes as both, and then got this great opportunity to move to London, where I worked for a company called Compass Group, one of the largest, 400,000 employees at the time, one of the largest employers on the planet, and we're in food services. Interestingly. So did that, came back, and at Compass, by the way, I was general counsel. So I kept going back, couldn't keep a job or a profession. They didn't know if I was better as an HR person or a lawyer or both. And then finally they threw me out, and I became a P&L guy. So I was at a company called IAC in New York. Many of you have never heard of IAC, but IAC owns Home Shopping Network, Match.com, LendingTree.com, all those sorts, Ticketmaster. And I was the head of HR that was my first Fortune 500 HR job, as the CHRO, I should say, and had the opportunity to do that. And then they asked me to be a CEO. So I got my first CEO gig after doing this journey of lawyer, HR person, and I retired. So here's HR people will appreciate this. So I retired at 40 years old. Don't do the math, because that was last year. But I had a number in my mind. This ties you back to how I was raised. And I'm going to see who can guess it. This will date you for sure. So I had a number in my mind that if I had this much money, I'd be rich. I just knew it. I said, if you have this much money, don't you give it away, because I can tell you. And so just by, tells you, neither of my parents finished high school. So don't think too crazy. But what was the number? $1 million? 10 million? 100,000? 400,000. So the number was 6 million. Random. Lee Majors. Okay. Oh my God. Don't you dare, Karen. What's up with this? For those of you who didn't have TV, I'm just going to decide that's what you'd have young. It's not that you're that young. There was a show called The $6 Million Man. Remember? I knew you. There was the $6 Million Man. Lee Majors was the lead actor in it, and I just thought, my gosh. Now, little did I know he wasn't worth $6 million. He was just, that's what they built. They paid to build it. We liked the bionic woman. Yes, we did. I wanted to marry her. I didn't want to be here. But I wanted to be the $6 million man. But yeah, so that was, I tell you that long, crazy story. You opened it up. You should have done it.
And we love it.
But yeah, that's how I got it. So I got to this amount, and I said, and I was very fortunate. God is so good. And I'm a very spiritual person. I'm so blessed that at a very young age, I was able to hit that number, and I retired. I literally said, I'm done. I hadn't gotten married. I hadn't had children. I hadn't done the things that I wanted to do because I was pursuing my career. And so I decided I was out. And I told my CEO at the time, he was upset, the whole story, And I went on a prolonged retirement and then came back to run the Thurgood Marshall College Fund. That's how I got into higher education. They were in trouble. They needed someone to fix it. I didn't attend a black college. I didn't know anything. I went to undergrad at the University of Miami, law school in Iowa, of all places. I had a ball in Iowa, by the way. And so that's how I did it. And I got this opportunity. Headhunter called me after being 7 years at the Thurgood Marshall College Fund and said, SHRM's looking for a CEO. And I thought, I don't want to work anymore, guys. I told you I really don't want to work. I'm fully retired. I want to raise my family and do the things. By the way, I have a 35-year-old son and a 15-year-old daughter. So that's a long story. In different settings, I would say. I won't.
Should I ask you a question right now?
It works. That's all. All right, this is HR. So that's my long journey.
I love that. I love to hear people's path,
Yes,
right?
that's circuitous indeed.
Yeah, wow.
But here now, 8 years, December 17th of this year, I'll be at SHRM for 8 years as your CEO. Thank you so much for supporting me. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, I'm trying to think like the questions they want to know, right? The
Okay, come on.
So the next one I think to myself is, we all utilize SHRM in some way or another, right?
hope so.
And so here you are, the CEO of SHRM, and what's it like to be the SHRM CEO?
Ooh, okay. It was great until those damn commercials. It was so good. Tony would tell you I'm in the airport. Oh, so I don't know if you've heard the story. You all seen the television commercials, right? If you're not, tune in. We're on Fox, we're on CNN, we're on all over the line. So I'm in the air in Lowe's. You all have Lowe's out here?
Yeah.
Home improvement store. So I'm in the store. It's a true story. And I've like worked in the lawn, which I don't do a lot. I don't stand in the yard a lot. But anyway, so I'm standing in line. I have to run to Lowe's. I'm there. This mother and her daughter, I thought they were mother and daughter, look at us standing right at me. So call it a 50-year-old woman, a 30-year-old woman. And they're whispering, I know who he is. I'm looking a mess, guys. I mean, I'm working in the lawn. Like, oh my gosh. So I'm listening. The mother says, he's the guy from SHRM, you know, the shrimp people, the HR people. The daughter says, no, he's Jake from State Farm. I was like, are you serious? And they're whispering, and I'm like, oh God, this is horrible. I never told them who I was, but it was really fascinating. So part of the job now is it's way more public than I like to be. I'm very much an introvert. No one believes it, but I'm very much, right? But I'm an introvert. And so I don't like all of the attention, but that's part of it. The second part of it is, and we saw it just recently when we announced Blueprint and our guest, Van Jones and Robbie Starbuck. It's ugly. People are vicious. And even though you're trying to do the right thing and we're consistent with our mission and our vision and our values of being a convener of people with diverse perspectives, polar opposite perspectives, but showing people that you can disagree better. The goal is not for all of us to agree. That's actually the opposite of diversity. Is if all of us thought the same thing, had the same shared experiences, saw the world the same, it would not be interesting. But the attacks on my child, who has nothing to do with this, right? The attacks on my parents, I mean, are you serious? So the job comes with a lot of bad days. So I now don't read any of the media, good or bad, the media that makes you can break you, because we're principled. God has given us a purpose, and I don't mean to get overly spiritual, but you don't have to be, but I know who I am, right? And the idea is that we have to commit ourselves to principles. And the principle that we have here is bringing people together, uniting people for good, acknowledging that human beings, we all have some bad in us, right? But we're trying to make things better. So that's the job. It's really ugly when you're seeing people say very bad things about you, SHRM, the HR profession, when you know all you're trying to do is do right by people and get the best optimized talent. So I know that's a downer when I tell you, it's fun, it's an honor, to be given the opportunity to lead, but it ain't pretty. It's just not pretty. We have security, full-time security now, and yesterday proved even more to us that we had to do it. I have had people show up to my house angry, so we've had security. I was Hillary Clinton's North Carolina finance director. I was in Trump 1 as an appointee on his American Workforce Policy Advisory Board. And so, you can't win. They hate you no matter what you do. I'm like, really? I supported Hillary twice in her campaign. And I gave everything that I had, a big fundraiser, had events at my house, did all of that. And of course, I was getting beaten up by the right of SHRM. Then I came here and I took, listen, the whole conversation, I'll never forget. Trump won 2018, we got the offer. They're gonna convene 25 CEOs, and I'm talking Fortune 500, Fortune 50 CEOs, Home Depot CEO, Delta Airlines CEO, IBM CEO, I mean, who's who. And they invited 3 non-Fortune 500 CEOs. I was one of them. Our profession was represented. Why? Because it was on the future of work. Fancy that. So first time SHRM had been invited to do that. And I literally had some of the members writing saying, how dare you shake his hand? How dare you show up to the White House? I was like, are you serious? You do understand we're at a Ledge conference, right? Policies will be made whether you're in the room or not. SHRM cannot decide to show up only when we agree with who's in the White House. It doesn't work that way. And we are a very diverse membership, right? Our membership is not one way or the other, and thus our line. SHRM is about policy, not politics. And as long as someone's in the White House and there is a SHRM, we're gonna be there trying to influence policy, period, full stop. And I need your support. I need your support.
I don't know if you heard Jeanette say today, but there are 380,000 SHRM members in 180 countries. Just to share the magnitude
globally.
of, yeah.
It's just amazing when you talk about our reach. And so the power of HR, the power of HR is something I hope when I leave here today, you all understand and feel it, because it's an ugly job. I just told you how ugly my job is.
We know that.
Right. I'm in HR because I love people. I say, you haven't been in HR long. These damn people will make you despise people. Hello? Do I hear an amen in the church? That's right.
I've never felt that way. Okay, so you may have already touched upon this, but what do you see as SHRM's most critical role in shaping the future of work, not just nationally, but like we said, globally? But
globally. So that's, it's policy. And it's why I took this opportunity to come spend time with you, and I congratulate you on the work. You actually can't have practice without policy. If you don't influence the policy, policy limits what your practices can be. There may be things you want to do, but you're not allowed to do because the legislative environment prevents it, prohibits it, makes it cost prohibitive, et cetera. So the most important, and I hate the most because there's a whole bunch of things that we all do every day and as a profession globally. But I was in London now 2 or 3 weeks ago, right, Tony? And we were meeting with the members of the House of Lords, their parliament group, their Congress, I should say. And everything was about workplace policy. Worker productivity is down. They're trying to understand how to deal with a diverse workforce that doesn't seem to get along. They're dealing with wage inflation issues. So all of this stuff, it's global. Issues like universal basic income, which we can talk about. What happens if AI does what AI does and people who want to work don't have jobs to work? What do you do? You can't blame them. It's not like you're at home lazy because you don't want to work. It's because there is no job for you anymore. Like, what are the implications? So what you begin to appreciate is it is so wide-ranging. Before that, I was in Ghana. So we were in Ghana, and then we went to London. This was now just 2 weeks ago. By the way, 3 weeks after I had a major surgery, but I had already committed, so I decided to do it anyway. And it was a rough trip. But when we got there, it was really fascinating that across the globe, wherever you were, people were talking about how do we help people figure out who they are, what they're great at, how they can earn money. There's dignity in work even if you had money. What you find is that people around the world, we go to Saudi Arabia where there's money falling off the trees, right? Literally, and they still want to work. And so that is an HR task. So globally, the most important thing we can do is work on legislation and policy. Policy first that will lead to legislation, which will impact our practice. That is the most important thing we do as an organization.
Awesome. All right, cool. Love that. Let's go back to you a little bit more. So you obviously have a significant role in SHRM. How do you avoid burnout? Yeah. And what are your non-negotiables? Wow. You know, the older you get, the non-negotiables list, I thought it would get real, right? Mine is the opposite. Like, because I realize, and I'm keenly aware every day that I'm a little bit closer to the end of this thing, that if you want to impact, I just want to work and work and work and work. My grandmother used to say something which was really weird and I didn't understand. I thought it was pretty cruel when I was a kid. I'd say, I can't wait until tomorrow. And she said, yeah, you're one day closer to death. Oh, a little deep, Granny. I mean, gives you some idea of, I can handle anything. If my grandma can say that I'm okay, I don't care what they say on the internet. But the notion is that my non-negotiables are increasingly limited to just a few things. One, those moments that matter with my family, those significant moments. I can't be at every basketball game with my daughter. I can't be at every spelling bee. But if there is something of significance, homecoming, I'm there. I have flown to London
done a meeting, and flew back that night, so the next morning I'm at the first day of school. Like, there are just some non-negotiables. Am I there for every first day of the school? No, this year I was in Ghana, so I couldn't be there. But yes, so anything that pertains to my children and my parents, you know, I'm their children, their child, it really quickly becomes a non-negotiable. That's number one. Secondly, and it is probably the only other big one, is increasingly I won't tolerate people who are uncivil toward other people. It's just unacceptable. There's no excuse. I can be steamed inside. Think about what we do every day. Every employee that you sit across, you don't like. But a professional doesn't respond in that way. There's just no way to accept it. So when people start, I just stop it. Like, the conversation stops. I won't tolerate incivility, disrespect, not seeing human beings as human beings and treating us that way. And I think for so long, we've allowed people to do that until it's become the norm. So there are things when I just walk out. We're just not going to do this anymore. And I think the more we do it, we will change what is acceptable behavior, because we've allowed it, bring your authentic self to work. No, I don't want to know your authentic self. How about that? Because you don't want mine some days. After I've dropped that 15-year-old daughter off and she's given me everything that happens with 15-year-old girls. I took her to school, and like, if I come into work and gave you my authentic self, it'd be a bad day. So we don't want to do that. No, you can't just, be focused on I all the time. So that's the second bucket of it, is I just don't do that. How do I stop from burning out?
Yeah.
When I get tired, I stop. Yeah. It's a simple rule. I have literally been on the road, and we're supposed to do a dinner at night or something. I'm leaving every day. I have a different event this entire week, sometimes 2 or 3 events in a day. I flew to LA Sunday night and flew back Monday night on a red eye, and had an all-day meeting Tuesday. But at any point along the way, if I got tired, I would just stop. And I'll send in sorry regrets, I can't make it. Because you have to listen to your body. And not just your physical body, your mind. There is a time when you will just teeter out. And I've seen my colleagues just drop. They just burn themselves out. So when you're burning out, you can feel it. And if you don't, get more in touch with yourself, because it's a funny thing that your body will start to tell you that it is not a machine. And even a machine, when it burns out, stops. So stop. That's what I do.
Like the gas tank in our car when it's empty, and the phone. And as HR professionals, we just keep going.
Keep going.
Keep going. So that's great advice.
Let me tell you that phone. I'm glad you mentioned the phone, because the phone is another thing. So my mother, she and I have a very interesting relationship. I love her to death, but she drives me nuts most of it. And she, so she says to me, I called you last night at 11:30 and you didn't pick up. I said, because I turned my phone off. When it's off, it's off. She said, again, we have this relationship. Prepare for it, ladies. She said, well, what if I died? I said, then you'd be dead tomorrow morning. I mean, and not to be a jerk, but for real. What am I supposed to do, stay up all night and wait for you? Like, you can't. You have to turn yourself off. I mean that, seriously. Like, you really do have to turn yourself off and decide. I know she's like, I don't want him as a son. But no, because that's real. So there are times when I just shut down, turn the phone off, turn the TV off, turn everything off, have time with Johnny, and that's it. Be selfish every once in a while. Isn't that a fancy word? We tell ourselves not to be selfish. We teach people it is actually okay to be selfish. Not too much, but selfish is okay. So
I know a lot of these HR professionals out there. Did y'all hear him? I know you're not doing that.
That's right. Turn it off.
President of SHRM. Take care of yourself. Turn it off. Love that. Thank you. That was awesome. So HR's not just about compliance anymore. It hasn't been for a while.
Right.
Right? It's about strategy. It's about culture. It's about innovation. Mm-hmm. What's the next frontier, do you think, for HR and business leaders?
So it's this, what we've termed, and I was at a conference when I just made it up, I'm not good at math, but it's AI plus HI. So everyone's talking about AI, but I think the future is we're going to be co-piloted. We're going to have to be human beings plus machines. humans, plus algorithms, plus software engineering, et cetera, to do our work. And we have focused, think about just the name of HR. And there's a huge debate about what you call it, human capital. Some say that's a bad idea because there was a point in our country when human beings were capital. They were traded. And so that's not, they were, so chattel. So human capital has challenges. So you can debate what you call it, but we have always assumed that work was largely done almost exclusively by people. Increasingly, it's going to be people plus. And that's where this introduction of AI, this is the new forefront of all of our work. How does work get done? I remember when I was the head of HR and we would always do labor planning exercises. Increasingly, the new conversation, the frontier is work planning. Question is, how does work get done? It may be done by people, it may not. How does work get done is the question. We used to say, we've got these projects to do, how many people will we need to do it? That was just a tie to the conversation, right? And now the answer may not be that. It will be some people and some machines. So that's the forefront. Everyone now is trying to figure out. There's a reason why people have poured trillions of dollars into AI, and it's because they want more productivity, they want more efficiency, they want more profits. And so that's going to happen. So we've got to figure out how do we do that, but do human-centered AI. And that we don't do it at the cost of human beings. We also, and if I may, just a little bit more on this one, because I think it is the issue of our day. We're at a very interesting point. I don't know how many of you saw the movie Hidden Figures. Okay, so if you saw Hidden Figures, if you haven't, it's a really good movie. But it's based in the South, and basically they had a group of women. They happened to be African-American women in the South, and they were called computers. Not human computers, because there was no such thing as a computer. They literally computed. They were mathematicians, statisticians, I mean, brilliant, highly trained women. And they worked for NASA and helped put man on the moon, the first American on the moon. Got it. Then IBM created what? A mainframe, a machine to do all of their work. And so you imagine that moment, what happens? Those women could have said, that's it, I'm out of luck, I'm upset, I'm angry with the world, shut the machine down, we don't need IBM's machine. They could have said all of that. Instead, what they said is, you know what? We're gonna let the computer compute. We're now going to fix computers, we're gonna design computers, we're gonna write programs for computers. We are going to find the new set of jobs because the jobs that we had have now gone away and been replaced. This is our Hidden Figures moment. We in HR have a responsibility to help bridge people to the other side. Yes, AI is coming for your job. Absolutely, that's why they designed it. What we have to say to our employees is, but I'm gonna prepare you for the new jobs on the other side of this. That's what we do, and that means learning and development, something in the past that we've kind of just poo-pooed, that's your problem. We only put money into the hypos. We're gonna have to train everyone, and we're gonna have to train them over and over. Long and gone are the days of going to school for college 4 years, and you come out and you can do what you do for 30 years with a little bit of touching up. Those are gone. Jobs today will disappear, most of them in another 5 years. So you're gonna have 5 or 6 years, continuous education, lifelong learning. That's the new frontier of HRs. How are we going to give people dignity, purpose, and an ability to earn a living for 50, 60, 70 years? By the way, have you heard this? The largest and fastest growing segment of the US workforce, people 75 and older. That is the largest and fastest growing segment of the US workforce right now. So just think about the dynamics, not starting off of a small base, but the idea is that people are working and living longer. Some of them need to work longer because they need the money, but others want to work longer. My mother right now, I keep talking about mom. I'm a mom as well, you won't believe it. But I told her don't retire, and that's why she calls me at 11:30 at night, because she's not working. But the idea is, people find purpose and dignity and their mind's working. If you're gonna live to 85, 90, big question about what do you do from 65 if you stop at 65? What do you do? And so we've got to find things for them, and we got this other thing happening on the other side of it. So you got people working longer, and guess what? Young people aren't having babies anymore. So we have a serious demographic problem in America. And most of the developed world has the same problem. They just don't have enough babies. So we got this generation that came in, they don't have dogs, they don't have babies, they have dogs. And so that's a whole different issue, right? I was on a plane with one the other day, that's another story. Okay, but so they're not having babies. We need people And the older people are saying, some of them, I want to retire, I can afford to retire, I kind of work, maybe I don't want to work as much, I want flexible, da-da-da. We have a problem in the US workforce right now from a talent availability. And then you layer on people who have the right attitude. Because even if someone can do the job, if they're not aligned with your organization, if they're just not right for your business, now you have a talent shortage. So we're in the middle of a big talent shortage. Those two things, AI plus a talent shortage, means HR is a safe profession. That's what it means.
All right.
How about that?
Good news, you heard it here. I love it. So I don't know if you said this exactly, but how do we mind shift as HR professionals? I mean, that's a lot on us, yeah?
Man, this
Right?
is the hardest part of our job right now, is if you've grown up in HR, and I had the same problem, like I've been in this long enough to sometimes say to myself, the temptation to say, you can't do that. That's not the way things work. And I have to come to grips with the world has changed, especially after COVID. People's relationship with work changed fundamentally and foundationally. Now the question is, do I want to work? For whom do I want to work? How long do I want to work? Where do I want to work? Not just where job, but do I want to come into your office? Do I not want to come into your office? It's a fascinating place that we are right now. So many of us grew up in HR in a world where we kind of had leverage. And now you don't actually have leverage. And it's amazing to me that, I don't know if you're seeing this now, people will quit their jobs who don't have jobs. You're like, what? Who does that? My mama would have killed me for that, right? You don't do that. They just come in and say, it's insane. And we don't know how to manage that. Or I won't talk about the company right now, but I have a company in mind right now where the people show up to work when they want to. And I was in London meeting with the head of NBC Universal, and she said, I finally had to sit my employees down and say, 9 to 5 is not a suggestion. It was the best line in the world. And she said, what is this? They roll in at 10 o'clock, and worse, they get in at 10 o'clock and then they leave to go get their coffee. You couldn't get your coffee on your way in. No, so people just have a and everyone thinks their opinion matters. And worse, they want their company to agree with them on everything, every issue that is yours. So the workplace is pretty, we are experiencing a shift right now like nothing. So technology is one thing, but the bigger issue is the mindset of our employee and our workforce. This is a different group of people. I'm preaching to the converted, right? Just what people do and say and how they show, what they wear to work. You're like, seriously? You knew this was called work, right? But what's appropriate, what's inappropriate, the way they speak, it's a bizarre place. Yeah. I was in a meeting with this woman the other day, and she said, it was a woman, which actually shocked me because I have my old Southern values, but she said, effing yeah. Really? Now, I'm no prude, and God knows that's my vice. I don't drink, smoke, but I curse like a sailor. But I was just so shocked that in a meeting, she was talking with the CFO, the CEO, and said, effing yeah. I was like, oh, okay. Formality, gone out the door, like who cares, whatever. So it's a different world. Yeah. Does that resonate with you? This is a hard job because every rule that I thought were like the rules of engagement are now out the window. Like it's weird. Oh, I gotta tell you a funny thing. This one, I don't know why. So this is so random, but the person came in, she was interviewing with me, and she walked in, she says, hi, Johnny. I said, have I met you before? I felt like my grandfather. I was like, I'm Mr. Taylor until I say you can call me Johnny. And she looked so taken aback. I said, no, that's how the world works, for real. And she got very uncomfortable with that. But I said, we've got to bring a little bit more. Maybe not overcorrect. You don't need to put on a 3-piece suit every day, and women don't have to have on hose and stocking. I got that. Mm-hmm. But we have gotten maybe a little too comfortable where there's no decorum. That this come as you are. What? No. I'm sorry, but anyway, okay.
You're speaking my language. That's all I can say.
And it's not just an age thing. I don't want anything, this has literally become pervasive in our society, people's relationship with how they work and everything. So I was talking with the CEO of Microsoft, and he said something that continues to, I think about a lot because I don't know how I digest it all. He said, during the pandemic, shortly after the pandemic, he convened all some 300,000 Microsoft employees together. And he said, I made a statement that waxed poetically. It was beautiful. He said, if it matters to you, it matters to me. And it was great. It sounded beautiful. Until people started telling him everything that mattered to them. And they wanted him to take an opinion on everything. And for companies to speak up, and you got to speak out on this, and so then you got to speak out that, you got to speak. And now CEOs are like overwhelmed with it all, like, oh, but we did that. We used language like authentic self. And I know what we meant. Oh, psychological safety. No. That's not what she meant. Like, she said it, but you took the words and you went sideways with it. So I can't have a serious conversation with you. I'm not feeling safe, Johnny, right now. I said, we're on opposite sides of the room. Why are you unsafe? Like, I don't understand. Does that mean I can't have a conversation with you to give you feedback? That's where we are right now. So we've got to get this thing back together, guys. I'm having just an honest conversation with my HR folks here right now, right? This is where we should like talk. And it's not a power dynamic. I don't want anyone in this room to walk away and think that I'm saying, go back to the days when we're the boss and you work for us and you do what we tell you and you show up and we can treat you. I'm not suggesting that. But I am saying the thing has gotten way out of kilter. And I think we went through years and years of 2% unemployment where people thought, you will do it or I'll leave. I'm going to do and work how I want to. And that has gotten us way off. So here we are, a generation. Think about the last time that we had a real economic downturn. What year was that? 2007, 8. So you have a generation, you have 40-year-olds who've never seen a bad economy. They don't even know what it's like. And they're complaining because they can't buy their $7 cup of coffee on their way to work. And I'm like, no, I was like, I cut coffee out. I had to find my own energy because we've been through some tough economic times. Now, I'm not going to pretend Great Depression era type things, but we have seen but you got to think about it. A significant percentage of the U.S. workforce has never seen an economic downturn. Even during the pandemic, we paid people to stay home. $1,000 a week. Think about it. $600 came from the federal government. $400 came from state unemployment. So people were getting $1,000 a week. Do the math. That's $25 an hour. So no wonder when you bring someone in and offer them $20 an hour, they have an attitude. They're like, you want me to work for $20 an hour? The government gave me $25 an hour. In Washington, D.C., on a policy standpoint, pre-COVID, so 2019, you all remember this. We were telling everyone in the world, and I'm going to keep looking at you, but everyone in the world, we said, listen, we want $15 an hour minimum wage. Remember that? It wasn't that long ago. And then COVID happened and we flew right past that, right? The expectation now is $17. Tony took a picture today for me at the Chick-fil-A here. $17 an hour plus benefits to work at Chick-fil-A. By the way, I love Chick-fil-A, but my God. So what does that say then to you all who are trying to staff your organizations with professionals right now? The expectation is insane what people want to make. Wage inflation is real and it's keeping your CEOs up at night. And I'm not blaming employees because gas is higher, this is higher, student loan payments, I got it all. But something has got to give. And then I want to talk about one other thing. She said this is not on her list of questions. Benefits cost. Guys, we got to get this under control. I'm just going to be blunt right now. We met with the company's major insurers. They're expecting insurance costs to peak at 15% this year. Rates are going to go up astronomically. And you may say, why? A couple of things. And again, this is no judgment. I'm just going to lay the facts out to you. Sometimes in HR, we got to get out of our feelings. GLP-1s, very important, but they're really, really expensive. Ozempic and the drugs. And we need them, by the way. So this is not a judgment, and I'm just saying someone has to pay for them, and they're very expensive. Mental health. We've told everyone. Now everyone has a therapist. Everyone. I've never seen it like it. I'm like, I know somebody's pissed off now. I know you're going to get mad at me, but seriously, think about this. It's a blessing and a curse. We want people to have it. We want the parity of mental health and physical health. There's no disagreement with me. But literally, everyone and their children are seeing therapists now. So somebody's got to pay for it. Companies now are at least seeing their utilization rates go through the roof. And then we're an older workforce, which means people have more health concerns. So you put those three things together. Pharma is going through the roof because everyone wants to take all sorts of interesting drugs and different procedures. You know, back in the day, what was considered elective is not elective now. Everything is mandatory. So you got that on pharma. You have two, the age demographic, which means we live older and therefore we have more demands for a longer period of time on a system. And then you add mental health to it. Your CEOs are under huge pressure. There are companies in America that spend over $1 billion a year on benefits. Billion, 1B, on benefits. Several of them, I was with the CEO of Bank of America. They spend in excess of $1 billion a year on healthcare benefits. So they're gonna start looking at us saying, now how do we manage this? I don't wanna take anything away, and I understand the needs for all of those things. We gotta take care of our older workers. We gotta make sure that people's mental health is in good shape because we want all of that, but you gotta do it without spiraling costs. Plus, everyone wants to make $100,000 a year. I got it. Was that a lot? But it's a lot. This is a busy job.
That was a lot, but here's my question to that, right? So take all of that, the AI and the expectations and all the things you just said. How do we start preparing ourselves? Because HR people, we're checklist people, we're planners.
Yes.
You know, we're ass kickers. How do we get ready?
Keep that.
How do we fix this?
Keep ass kicking. You're gonna need it. No, you're gonna need that. It's the only way to make it. A couple of things. We all are going to have to commit ourselves to being lifelong learners. You know, sometimes it's the cobbler's kids that have no shoes. We're so busy developing everyone else that we don't develop ourselves. Mm-hmm. We don't invest in ourselves. HR is changing. Think about it. If you were in technology and the language changed, we'd send all the people out for new training. But when HR changes, we don't want to invest in people. They should be coming to conferences. They should be certifying themselves. They should be consuming. I mean, SHRM membership, at the end of the day, pitch for it, but listen, at $300 a year, you pay for it very quickly if you use it. Your company benefits from it very quickly if you use it. We have to ourselves constantly educate, re-educate, and make ourselves better because the game has changed. If you are doing the same type of HR that you did just 5 years ago, you're behind because the world has just changed. I'm amazed. I sat down with a group of folks looking at HR technology. It is amazing what they're doing right now and what's out there. So once a month, just take some time to go look at what are the latest HR technologies. And we used to talk about ResTrack and other things like that. They make that look like nothing. There's technology now that will interview your candidates at night when you come in the morning. It's looked at their irises and determined whether or not they were deceptive or not. I mean, they got some good stuff out there. I mean, it's deep. Big brother, say I, but it's a lot of that going on. There's some fascinating stuff out there right now that we all have to embrace. So HR tech, human tech, whatever you want to call it, we have to invest in ourselves. I'm going to keep pitching to you that we've got to invest in making sure that you can be proficient as an HR person because more and more CEOs, you know, we all ask for a seat at the table. Now we're in the middle of it and people are throwing stuff at you, right? You are at the center of the table, but if you are not equipped to represent HR and our profession well at the table, you will do more harm to our profession than you'll do good. So you're there now, you got to show up, which means you've got to prepare yourselves.
Is there anything else?
Taskmaster. She said be a taskmaster. Yeah.
What else?
Yeah, so those are when I think about, because I want to open for some Q&A.
Yeah.
But probably the most, so I've been asked, and I think I've come up with the answer that I'm going to give a lot, because I think this makes sense. How can I be, or what are CEOs expecting from me? And when I say CEOs, to whomever you report, if it's a president, it's a managing director, if it's your head of HR, there are 3 things that people are expecting from HR professionals now. And they fall into really 3 discrete, and I'm a lawyer, so I'm talking 3s, but number 1, you've got to be competent. Too many of us have paraded around as HR professionals who don't know the basic body of knowledge. Shame on you. When I say, what's the ADA? And you're saying the American Dental Association. Actually, no. We did that. That was a real test. We had a roving reporter, and I was like, you're at an HR conference. Hint, hint, disability. But there are so many of us who actually say we're HR practitioners. And you don't have to be an expert at everything, but if I'm a lawyer, I need to know the basics of real estate law, although I'm a tax lawyer. Like, you've got to be competent as an HR professional. That's the 1C. The second, and perhaps most important, is you've got to establish confidant relationships. Too often, we are seen as the police. We are the enemy of the people that we work with, the other people in business. And so we've got to change that. Yes, my job is to enforce and to make sure that we're compliant, because if you're out of compliance, everything goes bad. But more than that, you've got to trust me. I need to be able to call you and have a conversation with you as my HR person and tell you what I'm going through, both the employees and the leaders, but especially the leaders. They need to know that you are their confidant. I want to be able to sit down and say, young man, is it Minor? All right, Minor. I can see a little bit. But this Minor says, Johnny, can I talk with you? This person works with me and I don't like her. It's not because she's a she. It's not because she's anything. We just have bad chemistry. But she's really good. Help me figure out how to manage through that. You have to give Minor the permission to tell you that. If he thinks he's going to be judged by you, if he thinks, I see my time, then you're in trouble. So the confidant relationship is perhaps more important to HR than anything, as I think about. The third C is courage. We lack courage, my friends. And I think it's because many of us are not competent. And so if you're not competent, then you're less likely to challenge because you actually don't know what you're talking about and you're afraid of someone calling you on it. So you need those three things. You need to be competent, you've got to become the confidant, and you must have courage. If we do that, we're going to be able to lift this profession to a place that we've never seen. If you fail in any of those three, you're not going to be a great HR person. I'm going to end with it, and I'm going to open for Q&A because I see a question. Let me tell you something. This is a pet peeve of mine, and I could be very wrong here, by the way. I hate the title HR business partner. And I'm just going to tell you why. It doesn't mean I'm right. So, by the way, there's enough humility in me. But here's the issue, because it is very much mindset. If you think the implicit in the term HR business partner is that the business is over here and you're a partner to it. HR people are business people. You are actually a part of the business. You're not a partner to the business. It is a real shift in thinking, those are the I hate it when someone says, the business people. I'm like, what the hell are you?
Yeah.
You're not a business person? That's insane.
Wow.
And you're a business person even if you're in a nonprofit space. I run SHRM nonprofit. We do $300 million a year revenue. Everybody is a business person. You better be. That's how we pay bills. So no matter what it is, guys, we have to, whether you change the title, by the way, I don't care what you call yourselves, honestly, but words matter. And it's a mindset thing. When you walk into the room, you are a business person who has a specialty in HR. You're a business person who has a specialty in marketing. You're a business person. You get the point?
Yeah.
All of us are business people. There are no business people over there and then HR people over here. It's a mindset. So I talked with the head of HR for Morgan Stanley. They put her in the job. She'd, of course, never been in HR at all. But they made her the head of HR for this global job, put it aside. First thing she did but there was something interesting in it. She said, I renamed them. They're no longer called HR business partners. Now, this was on her own, wasn't it? I met her in New York first time. She said, I renamed them all HR strategic advisors, HRSAs. She said, every person on my team goes in and understands you are a strategic advisor. You sit down. Ultimately, the line person may make the decision, but you are strategic, bringing that word strategy in, not just compliance, and you're an advisor. Think about your wealth advisors at a bank, or your lawyers are your advisors. You're giving someone advice and counsel because of your expertise. Even if they make a different set of decisions, you have given it to them. So again, no one should walk away and Johnny says, I just say, I like the idea of us talking about ourselves differently. You're strategic advisors, you are business people. Okay?
That's my favorite point.
You are.
Right?
You got to be business
We're
people.
changing our titles here in Reno, Nevada.
That was a little slow. I wasn't sure they bought it, but okay.
No, I can tell.
That's okay. I'm flying out of here tonight. I don't care. But
So we're gonna open up to some Q&A.
And ask some good questions, guys. I know. Yes, ma'am. She was ready. Okay. Okay. I can probably hear you, and I'll repeat the question. Can't hear me. Shoot it out. I'll repeat it.
Yeah, that one works. Sure.
Test.
Test.
I love her. I love HR.
Thank you.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So I have a T-shirt. I'm going to answer this question. I'm so random. But I wore yesterday this T-shirt. So this is how sometimes we get crazy. So, and I hope I don't have, I probably have, but that's okay. I was going to say offend anybody. So we had a campaign, HR Diva, because a lot of women, they really, really liked it. So I started getting these notes from people. Diva is a negative term, da-da-da-da. I was like, are you serious, right? Okay, so we came out with a new line called the HR Divo, which is for men in HR. So I wore my T-shirt the other day, and I was walking to the airport. This guy's like, I like that, I'm in HR. I said, cool. so I'm an HR Divo. Okay, that was so random, but it was tied to I love HR, by the way. That's where it came from.
Thank you and Antonio for being here today. So I appreciate it. So I think I came up with a new formula here.
Okay.
Courage, because you talk about courage, plus culture, plus ability equal success or something like that, equals something.
Right.
Tell us about the courage part, because yes, we want to be open with people, but if people are going to break down because we have the courage to be open with them, then what do we do with that?
It's the how. Courage is always important, but empathy matters. Even more than sympathy, because sympathy actually, we all should be sympathetic at a time, but empathy says, I gotta deliver this in such a way where you begin to understand that I'm coming from a good place. This is a tough message, right? I know, Minor, you're a good guy, but you didn't quite do this as well. But empathy is the underlying sort of missing skill that we have, is how do you get someone and understand how they're going to receive it? Now, that doesn't mean you can't have the message, and you have to have the courage to do it. But if you practice empathy, how is this going to land on the person? How can I get them to come with me? It will help you get far more courageous. Even when I've worked for CEOs and I've had to come in and deliver a tough message, I have to think about how is this going to fall when I go into my boss and say, you know, that chief marketing officer who you're in love with, who does well, by the way, he's sleeping with 3 of your employees. And you don't want that right now. And I don't want it right now. He obviously does, but that's different. But how do I, and then so empathy, like I pick the day. This happened to me in real life. How am I gonna have the conversation? When am I gonna have it? I'm not gonna have it after you're going, and I'm gonna lay it out, and then I'm gonna come to you with a solution. Part of being courageous is not coming in and dropping something on your boss's desk. Come with a solution. Here's the problem, here's the solution, we're gonna work through this together. That's where you begin. And then that's when you build your confidant relationship with your CEO or whomever you report to. But it's a great question. But you got to have courage, my guy. I worked for a guy, Fortune 500 CEO, and one time he really, really pissed me off. Barry Diller, by the name, is his name. And so Barry just really, really got me mad, and he was basically threatening me, a little bit of bullying me. He's a billionaire a couple of times. And I said, listen, Barry, there are 499 other Fortune 500 companies in the list. You got it? Out of Fortune 5. I said, so maybe this isn't gonna work. Now, I know that's easier said than done. I had a little bit of cushion. So I was in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. I love this. This woman gave a whole speech on courage. And at the end, it was part of your question. And she stands up in the back, and in her best Southern twang, I'm gonna try much, she said, honey, Johnny, I understand all your courage stuff and all that stuff you're talking. She said, but I gotta tell you, I'm a single mother. I got a car note, I got a kid in school, and I can't do that. And I just can't be courageous all the time. And I was like, so where's the question? And I'm like, I don't know what's wrong with you. And another woman in the back, and I can see her now, stood up. She said, Johnny, I got this for you, baby, I got it. I was like, thank you. So she answered it. She said, honey, I used to work for a jerk. She said, and so I started saving my money. I saved up 3 to 6 months of my money and created me a go to hell fund. It was the best piece of advice I had. She said, so next time you say so, I told him go to hell, because I could find me another job. I had me a savings account. And there was something in it, set up a go to hell fund, because there is a time when you're gonna work for someone who you should not work for. They don't deserve you as an HR professional. There are jerks who make their way up the corporate ladder, and they are in control, and you can, I see, so she's over there, okay, that's right. But you deserve better. Can I say that to everybody in the room? Mm-hmm. You do. It may take you time, and if you have obligations, you can't just walk off of your job. Maybe you can, set up your go to hell fund. But even without that, you have to be smart and strategic and find a way out, because you work too hard. You care too much about the organization, you care about these people, and most importantly, you better care about yourself. You will kill yourself working for a place that doesn't value you, no matter what you do. That doesn't mean we're all not improving, but if they don't value you, they don't deserve you. You have to have the courage to walk away. I just had this conversation with a very significant company, SHRM, and I told her, I said, your boss is an asshole, and you should not work for that person. You can do better.
Do you think part of courage is do it afraid?
Is what?
Do it afraid.
Oh, for sure.
Right?
I love that phrase. In fact, most things that you do. When I came up here today, I was
Especially.
afraid. I know, I mean, seriously. If the stakes are high and what we do is high stakes work, you're influencing people's lives, you should be afraid. You actually should. Every day when I give someone advice on something, do you hire, fire, do you demote, do you do this to a person, you are affecting someone's their life and their livelihood, both. And it's a big deal. Every time you fire someone, you should not go to sleep at night easily. And anyone who here does, short of a really, really bad person, but even then you should feel sorry for them. Another question. Yes, sir.
Mr. Taylor.
Johnny. He got me.
I'm Chuck, and I'm 76, still working.
That's what I'm talking about.
And I work with CEOs, and recently, just this week, a CEO complained about being taken over by a larger company, and he said now everything is slowed down through HR.
Yeah.
So I appreciate what you said earlier about creating that partnership of working together. We're trying to create groups of HR people who are learned to be leaders to bridge the top and bottom. CEOs are lonely at the top. You guys are lonely in the middle. I'd just like you to talk about that.
Amen. Those are the two toughest jobs in an organization. Believe it or not, it's not just because I'm in HR. Because I've done both. I'm the CEO. I've been in this spot. It is an ugly job. It really is. Sure, they pay you pretty decently, and there's some perks for it, but there's a reason they do it. Typically, you're paid a lot of money because you work really, really hard. You take all of this home with you constantly. It is my responsibility. If I have to lay off people, do you know I think about that? Because some person is relying on their rent to be paid every month based upon me. So walking into someone and said, I made a bad decision, Virginia, and therefore you are now unemployed, that's a bad thing. That's what I did. That's no fault of your own. So that's scary. Guess what? So too is the case in HR. Every decision we make impacts someone's life. I literally let a woman go, and she went home and killed herself that night.
Oh my gosh.
That is a true story at Blockbuster Entertainment. So I've been there, and thus empathy. I had to have the courage to do it, but it's how you do it. Now, could I have stopped it? Who knows? God is in control of everything. But what I do know is that I should have been a lot more empathetic. And that will haunt me. So these are hard jobs. They're really, really hard jobs, which is back to that point. You got to take care of yourselves and give yourself some grace and mercy because you're going to make mistakes. Nobody's 100% at this, right? You're going to make some mistakes. But yeah, that happened very early in my career, but it helped build I'm super, super sensitive. I probably overcorrect. Like someone is really bad by the time I fire them just because I made a mistake early on. I pulled too quickly. That wasn't good. Got it. One more question. Yes, ma'am.
So we've talked about what we can do within our organization.
By the way, those boots, that's hot. I dressed my daughter. These shoes are it, okay?
So we've talked about our profession, we've talked about our CEOs. I'm a consultant by trade, but I want to know if we're 380,000 people strong in SHRM, what could we do that would catapult it for the global side? Because we could take 5, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. When we put that all together,
yes.
What can we do?
So this is going to, thank you for that soft close because it's actually the position that I want us to do. We have a campaign ongoing right now around civility. It is the number one thing that we as a profession can do is to infuse civility back into our workplaces. I started with this because we have to make people better. Not just technically better, not just making more money, but we have to make people better human beings toward each other. If we do that, not only will business flourish, society will flourish. We will have not just an engaged workforce, but an engaged society. People will actually feel better. We have a problem right now, and I think corporate America in particular, where the workforce is roughly 168 million people strong out of a country of 335 million. If we could influence 20% of those people to be better, to disagree better, to hope for the success of each other, to appreciate our differences. If we can do that, we're going to be in a better spot. And HR can drive that, guys. I know this feels a little maybe Pollyanna and feels a little syrupy, but it's true. We know, for example, that when a person, and this is SHRM research that we released last year, we know this is data. If you experience an act of incivility at work, on average, it takes you 37 minutes to get it back together. That's lost productivity. That's $2.3 billion a year in lost productivity because of incivility. So this is a business conversation. This isn't about, what is that thing, kumbaya, and everybody feeling good. It's nice that they do, but ultimately, if the second I walk into my building in the morning, someone cuts me off in the parking garage, or is mean to me at the water cooler, or whatever, throws my day off, you as a company have lost half of an hour of productivity. That's bad. And ultimately, that person may leave. Newest research that we have coming out, we used to say people leave companies, they don't leave companies, they leave their managers. Now they're leaving their colleague because of workplace toxicity. The toxicity isn't coming from your manager anymore. It's the person sitting next to you. And we as HR have allowed that to persist because the person was so good. They were so efficient. They were so smart. We allowed jerks to remain, and that has created, we've allowed people to believe incivility is okay. And it's not. So if there's anything that you're going to see me rally on, and we as a profession can literally step back and say our businesses will be better, society will be better, and future generations will be better, it is if we take up civility as a driving force. It is HR as a social force for good. Thank you all so much. Thank you so much.